All right, Applied Tech Math and College Algebra. We got a combo class, a crossover class here video. This is the first of two videos, hopefully just two, that you're gonna watch Monday, April 4th, 3rd, Monday and Tuesday, April 4th. We're off to a good start here. On this SAT, you have this in your possession. This is the first page. Especially if you're juniors or seniors or sophomores trying to get a head start here in prep, I highly encourage you to start these problems first and watch this video to check your answers. All right, again, this is the reference page, gives you all the formulas. I didn't even look at the formula page and then see that they give you the special right triangles here. That's unbelievable. All right, all the stuff here should probably, it's going to be on the YouTube note, not selling this, people, not selling this, SAT, got it? All right, anyway, let's take a look here. So this first video is going to be about half of this test here. This is going to be with points for both classes, is going to be with points. I do want to see some work on questions that require work. A painter will paint in walls with the same size and shape, Painter's fee can be calculated by this equation, where N is the number of walls. Okay, K is the constants with units of dollars per square foot, L is the length, H is the height. If the customer asks the painter to use a more expensive brand of paint, which of the factors is going to change? Number of walls is going to change. The length of the wall, the height of the wall is not going to change. It's just going to be this, K, because if it's more expensive, the price per square feet is going to go up. So it is simply K that will go up. All right, all the other three variables are going to remain constant. Number two, if 3r is equal to 18, what's the value of 6r plus 3? Two different ways to do it. You can take this equation here, solve it. You simply get, that's what I did here, second. You simply get 6, plug 6 in right here. 6 times 6 plus 3 is 39. That's how you get 39. Or if 3r equals 18, then 6r plus 3 is double this, plus 3, because 6r is double 3r. It's another way to get 39. All right? Every class can get that. Okay. Ooh, really did a good job of getting rid of that unauthorized copying comment there. Okay. Again, SAT, College Board, not selling this, just helping students. Which of the following is equal to a to the 2/3 for all values of a? College Algebra, man, this is right up our alley. Should be a relatively easy question for us. You are taking the third root, so you're going to make the root. You're taking the third root. The third root of what? A to the second power. The third root of a to the second power, okay? We want that one. 3 straight, relatively easy ones. National average 500. It's going to be roughly 29 out of 58 questions. That's only half right. Okay, every question you get right after that's an additional 10 points. So we get roughly 2/3 of them. That's a 600. Then we're if you double that within English, that's 1,200. You can start looking at some scholarship cash there. All right. The number of states that joined the U.S. between that 73-year period is twice the number of states that joined during that 50-year period. If 30 states joined here, which of the following is true? All right, so there were 30 in this period. That means there were 15 in this period. All right. So which of these is going to be true? It would be this right here. 2 times 15 equals 30. So X is how many joined in the second period. Okay, so if I double how many joined there, I get 30. All right, and this is just true. 30 in 76 through 49. And then 15 in 1850 to 1900. All right, so 2 times 15 would give me this 30 here. The answer is B. If I double this number of states in the second time period, I get the number of states in the first time period. All right, what's the value of x over 5? Students might be tempted to flip this, but you still don't. You still have x there, so you're just going to need to cross multiply. 5 times x times 20 is equal to 15x. 5 times x times 20 is equal to 15x. Do a little distribution. 5x plus 100 is 15x. Subtract 5x from both sides. Divide by 10, you get x is 10. Then what's 10 divided by 5? 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay. If xy is a solution to the system of equations above, what's the value of x minus y? Sometimes you can just subtract the equations and you get x minus y. If you flip these, you would get x plus y. All right, so we can't do that. We just got to do what we did in chapter 3, college algebra, solve a system. What's the value of x minus y? So you need to figure out x and y. All right, so I'm looking at these, and I want to get rid of the x's. So I'm going to triple the first equation, double the second equation. Make sure you triple everything in the first equation and double everything in the second equation. All right? Now, the x's are the same. If I have the same sign, I need to subtract. -9 minus a -4 is a -5. -42 minus a -12 is a -30. Divided by -5, I get 6. Y is 6. Plug 6 anywhere you want. I plugged it into the original number 2. 3x minus 2 times 6 is a -6. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. I get x is 2. It wants to know what is x minus y. 2 minus 6 is a -4. Something you would have done in my class, solve the system and just subtract the answers. 2 minus 6 is a -4. All right? We can, college algebra, those first 6 questions we can handle, okay? All right, so 7 is actually pretty easy. It's just maybe asking you in different formats. Some of the values of f and f of x, remember f of x is y, are shown. Which of the following must be a factor? Must be a factor. So folks, factor means I get a solution, you know. So x minus 5 is a factor because it's set equal to 0, okay? So I get x is 5. When x is 5, y is 0. When x is 5, y is 0. When x is 4, y is 0. When x is 4, y is 0. So I say x equals 4. That's the solution here. And then I move this over to get x minus 4 as my factor. X minus 4 would be my factor. We did that plenty of times. I said, hey, x equals 5, x equals -2, or write the equation of a quadratic, you know, in standard form. We had to go backwards. Given the answers, we found the factors first. All right, 7. So this line where k is a constant is graphed. If the line contains these 2 points, c is x, d is y, and d is not 0, what is the slope of the line in terms of c and d? You're like, goodness, slope, I've only given 2 points. Well, not really. You're given c comma d, and folks, this 4 is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is when x is 0. When x is 0, y is 4. So you're actually given 2 points here. And if I have 2 points, I can find the slope. The slope is the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. Now, take a look here. Notice how, so c is an x and it's down below. Notice how I had no negatives in the denominator. And take a look. We can actually show why c is not right. So honestly, it does depend on the order you go, which way you go. If I do d minus 4 over c minus 0, I get this, and that is exactly a. What happens if I went the other way? What happens if I did 4 minus d? 4 minus d over 0 minus c. And I would have this. And that is not c. That is not c. None of these answers have a negative c in the denominator. Okay, if I multiply by a -1, I get a positive d and a -4. And that's what I have up here. All right. Answer is A. Answer is A. All right, so we've kind of talked about these before. Number 9, in the system equation above, k is a constant, x and y are variables. What value of k will the system of equations have no solution? Have no solution. No solution is a situation where I get like 0 equals 7. I get a false statement. Okay, so in order to have no solutions, my variables have to cancel. I need to be left with like 0 equals 7, just like I said. So make the y's match up first. Multiply this top equation by 5. Multiply this bottom equation by 3. 5ks minus 15y is equal to 20. Then multiply the bottom equation by 3. Notice how the 15y's match up perfect. Negative 15y, negative 15y. So in order for this to be a no solution situation, these would have to match up. 5kx is equal to 12x. 5kx is equal to 12x. By x's. This k is going to be 12 over 5. We've practiced that one enough to where if we see it on the test, we shouldn't get too aggravated about it. All right, so 10's kind of the medium one. They intersect 2 different times. Guys, intersect means they're equals. Intersect means they're equal to each other. So I'm going to set this equal to this. Now, I could FOIL this out and move 25 over and factor. But, folks, if I have x minus 11 squared equals 25, I take the square root of both sides. Taking the square root of something squared, so it's x minus 11 equals plus or minus 5. So that means x minus 11 is a positive 5 and x minus 11 is a negative 5. I solve both. I add 11 to both sides. I get 6 and 16 as my answer. 6 and 16. Well, what's the difference between those two answers? It's 10. What's the difference between those two answers? That's the length. All right, that's the length. All right, so let's take a look at 11. 11, so vertical angles are congruent. So y is equal to u, x is equal to t, w is equal to z. That's what I know for sure. But they also told me this. So I already knew that y was equal to u. Okay, but from this, now I know that x is equal to w. So again, what I showed you before, I wrote down. I know that... now I just figured this out, right? So I know this before. Vertical angles are congruent. X and T are equal. Y and U are equal. Z and W are equal. So those are the first 3 things I wrote down. Then from this here equation, like this is already true. Y already equals U. So if I get rid of those 2, because they're already equal to each other, I know that X is also equal to W. All right, well, look here. If X is equal to W and W is equal to Z, then X must equal to Z. That's a transitive property. Learn that in geometry. So 1 is definitely true. Y equals W. Folks, I honestly only know that Y is equal to U. That's all I know. So I can't say 2. All right, so let's take it. Why is the other one correct? All right, so if X equals W and X also equals T, well, W equals Z. So that means X must equal, so that means, sorry, if X equals W and Z equals W, all right, then that means Z is equal to T. Why is Z equal to T? Because X equals W. So X and Z are the same thing, all right? And if X equals T, so does Z. Z must also equal T. All right? Let's pick it up. Like we already said that with 1. So 1 and 3 are both the same. Are both true. So my answer here is B. All right, that's probably medium 1 for sure. But, we can just get that. We knew really any math there. We just, some about angles. Vertical angles are congruent. That helped us out. And then that equation up there, knowing that X is equal to W. I got the dominoes rolling. All right, so we've talked about this a few times, guys. The vertex of a quadratic is right in between its 2 solutions. So what you're going to do is you're going to set this equal to 0. You're going to get x equals 2 and x equals negative 4. Those are my 2 solutions. What number is in between 2 and negative 4? It's negative 1. That is the middle, and that's where the vertex is. That's where the vertex is. The vertex is at negative 1, so you're going to plug negative 1 in for x there and there. Might be hard to remember. Anyway, the y-coordinate of the vertex is now going to be negative 3 times a, negative 9a, and that's what D is. All right, so that's how you do it. That might be a little bit of a challenging one. The vertex is always right in the middle of the 2 solutions. Speaking of an interesting one, again, you might have a stretch of ones that are more on the challenging side. You know, I mean, we opened up with 7 very easy ones, I thought, so don't get discouraged. All right, what's the value of A? Whoa. So first off, you know, we've done this one in class before, so here's what we can do, guys. We can add fractions if they have the same denominator. So I'm going to add this over. I'm going to add this because it's a negative, so I'm going to add this to this. So both fractions are now, when I combine both fractions, the denominator is going to be ax minus 2, and I'm really just adding 53 to negative 47. Those are the like terms. So now I have this equals what was on the right side. Okay? And now, in order to, I'm going to, you know, kind of cross multiply here. I'm going to multiply by 1, or I'm going to multiply top and bottom by ax minus 2. That's the same thing. If the denominators are equal, then the numerators are equal. We're going to talk about that in Chapter 8. We just missed Chapter 8. Okay, but again, I can cross multiply. I can multiply that by ax minus 2, and I can multiply this by 1. So I'm going to FOIL, and I did a poor job foiling. First, negative 8a x squared, outer positive 16x, sorry, positive 16x, inner negative 3ax, and then negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. But honestly, this part doesn't matter so much, guys. They just want to know what a is, so correspondent. You only have 2 terms with x squared. So this must equal this. This has to equal this. Okay, the 6's obviously correspond. You can, you know, say this equals this. That's fine. And you're still going to get negative 3. But if I just, you know, have 24x squared equals a negative 8ax squared, the x squareds will now cancel, and a is going to be a negative 3. You know, that's going to be a more interesting question. 14, folks, quadratic formula, which unfortunately they give you a lot of stuff, maybe some stuff you don't need, but they don't give you the quadratic formula. So first off, divide everything by 3. Because, you know, maybe you can't factor this. You can't. Well, it multiplies to 2 and adds to 4, nothing. So, gonna have to remember this formula. Negative b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. Notice how all your answers begin with a negative, and b is currently positive, so hopefully that will help you remember negative b. So here it is. Now your calculator can help, you know, just 16 minus 8. A lot of your calculators will break down, because notice you don't have any root 8s. A lot of your calculators will break down the square root of 8. Shout out to the TI-30XS Multi-View. I mean, I do have 10 of them. Okay, so that gives us this. I can divide this, this, and this by 2. Not that. That's protected. And that's how I get my answer. It's quadratic formula. All right. Quadratic equation. Equation above shows Celsius in terms of what you have for Fahrenheit. So, which of the following is true? For every 1 degree increase in Fahrenheit, because 5/9 is the slope, you're going to have an increase of 5/9 in Celsius. Okay. And then what else is true? 2 is true because I could flip the formula, switch it. I can multiply everything by 9/5. If I multiply everything by 9/5, I'm going to have this. I'm going to add 32 to this. So that's a formula we see a lot, given Celsius, what's Fahrenheit, and that's 2. And 3 is just trying to look at this one up here, but given the wrong explanation. Okay, so it's 1 and 2. 1 and 2 that are correct. All right, that then brings us to that brings us to here the free response, and this was a harder question for us in Chapter 5. We had these in notes, so you're gonna have to distribute. Okay, then to solve this, you're gonna have to move this over, folks. These all 3 terms have an x in common. Well, multiplies to 4 and adds to a negative 5, negative 4, negative 1. But how do you get x to the 4th? It's x squared. So first off, x equals 0, but x has to be bigger than 0, so that one doesn't count. X squared minus 4 equals 0. So x is plus or minus 2, but remember they said x has to be bigger than 0. So you could stop there. You just have to put one answer. So 2 is a winner. Or you could say this, x squared minus 1 is 0. X is plus or minus 1, but remember, x has to be bigger than 0, so x is 1. So this actually has 2 different answers. You just report one. It is 2 or it's 1. All right, 17 though. 17 is easy. This is 3/9 x. This is 3 over 12, 5 over 12. That is 8 over 12. 8 over 12 is 2/3. 3 over 9 is 1/3. The denominators are equal, so 1x equals 2. X is 2. Again, you can cross multiply. You can say 3x equals 6. X is 2. X is 2. All right. Isosceles triangle and above. So they told me that y is 75. That's good. These are not vertical angles because this would continue to go on like this and this would go like this. So they're not, because they don't share the same two line segments there. So they're not vertical angles, okay? Now, y is 75. That can help us figure out z, right? Using this equation here. 180 minus z is 2 times 75. 180 minus 30, that's how you get 150. So z is 30. So if this is 30, you have another isosceles triangle here, so the base angles are equal. Take 180 minus 30, you're left with 150 degrees. That's split evenly, 75, 75. And why is that important? Because x is supplementary to the 75-degree angle. It forms a straight line. So x is 180 minus 75. That's how you get 105. A lot of geometry in there, though, but that's early on in geometry. It's early on in geometry. All right, and the last two here. You can call, the hamburger H and the burger's fries, or the hamburger X and the fries Y. That's my first equation. 2 burgers, 3 fries, 1,700 calories. And what else? A hamburger has 50 more calories than a fry. So whatever a fry has, a hamburger has 50 more. So a hamburger is whatever a y is plus 50. You want to get that right. You should really only do substitution here. You're going to take this, plug that in. Obviously, you guys can do guess and check. The SAT doesn't care how you get the answer. So I'm going to plug that in right there. Okay, I'm going to solve this equation. 5y plus 100 is 1,700. I subtracted 100. I divided by 5. But they wanted to know a hamburger, so a burger is 50 more. To figure out what x is, add 50. And some of you are good with arithmetic can guess and check. All right, pause this whenever, because I'm not trying to make these massive videos on Tuesday. You only have like 35 minutes in class anyway. Triangle ABC, B is 90, so it could be ABC or it could be ABC. It doesn't matter. B's right there, though. BC is 16. This is 20. Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus 16 squared is 20 squared. That's 12. It's a 3, 4, 5 triangle times 4. And DEF, so DEF is similar. So that means A corresponds with D, B corresponds with E, C corresponds with F. It's a third of length, but honestly, that doesn't matter so much here because this is talking about if it wants to know what sine F is, sine of F is the same thing as sine C because these sides are all proportional. Sine F equals sine C. So I can just look here. Again, this is how I figure out what 12 is. I called that X. That's how I figure out what 12. And I need that because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So sine C is opposite over hypotenuse. 12 over 20, which is 3/5. They'll also take 0.6. 3/5 or 0.6. All right, that was the non-calculator section. Yeah, remember that. Non-calculator section. All right, no calculator for that, which is funny because sometimes in the calculator section, we don't need a calculator for a lot of these. All right, so I'm gonna do a few of these and then that will be the end of this first video. Okay, the graph above shows Marilyn's distance from a campsite during a 3-hour hike. Goggins Ground, Maryland, very good. She stopped for 30 minutes during her hike to have lunch. Based on the graph, what time is the closest time she finished lunch? This was lunch. She finished lunch and started hiking. It's right here. That's 1:40. It's not 1:10. 1:10 is when she started lunch. All right, just reading a graph. Got male, females, distribution of gender for 25 people who enter a contest. So the contest winner will be selected at random. What is the probability that they are either a female under 40 or a male over 40? Guys, there's no intersection there. Okay, can't be both. So what you do is you take this plus this over 25. 10 over 25. That one's pretty easy. Can't be both. If it said or both, then you'd do a little subtraction if there was intersection, but there isn't any there. All right, all right. This might be the good last page here. So which of the following is true? Again, you guys can read this. Which of the following is true? And the true statement is here, it increased until here, 3 years after 1997, which is 2000. And then it generally decreased after that. So it's C. It is C. It increased until 2000 and generally decreased since then. Generally because there was a little bit of an uptick, right, between 2003 and 2004. All right, guys, on number 4, which of the following defines, again, f of n is f of x, same thing. Guys, this is slope-intercept form. And they all have different slopes, so you just need to figure out what the slope is. This is x and this is y. Why? Because it's always f of x. F of x. That's x and that's y. So these are all going up by 1, so y is getting bigger by 3 each time x goes up by 1, so the slope is 3. That's the only answer with a slope of 3. Okay, we can be wise, folks. We can be wise. At Lincoln High School, 5% of the juniors, or 7% of the juniors and 5% of the seniors are inducted into the National Honor Society last year. There are 562 juniors and 602 seniors. Which of the following is closest to the number of juniors and seniors at Lincoln High School? All right, you're going to take 7%, 0.07, times how many juniors? 0.05 times how many seniors? You get 69.44, which is 69. All right, definitely need a calculator there. That was very easy. Very easy. And we're going to end on another easy one, folks. They want to know the sum of those two, so you're just going to add them up. All right. 3x squared, 5x squared is 8x squared. Negative 5x plus a negative 2x is a negative 7x. 2 plus a negative 6, negative 4. That's choice A. That's a good place to stop, I believe. Oh, actually, we're going to do this last week. We're going to be halfway done. All right, because 7's easy, folks. 7 easy. Cross multiply. 3/5 W means it's going to be 3W over 5. 3W over 5. Okay, so let's cross multiply. 9W equals 20. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. 8. Average number of students in a classroom, Central High School from 2000 to 2010 can be modeled by that. So classes are getting bigger from 2000, since 2000. So that was the average number of classes in 2000, and it's getting bigger by that because that's the slope. The estimated increase in the average number of students, that's what 0.56 is. 0.56 is the slope, and that's not the average. That would be what y is, and that's the y-intercept. And that's definitely not D, so it's C. That's what the slope is here. The increase in the average number of students. Increase because it's positive. All right, Nate walks 25 meters in 13.7 seconds, so figure out he's going 1.2 meters a second, and he's going to go for 4 minutes. 4 minutes is 240 seconds. Do this times this, 436.8. That's closest to 450 meters. That's an okay walk. If you can do a little over a lap in 4 minutes, that's a good walk. Nice job, Nate. All right, that's your first video, guys. This is Yak Math Videos signing out.